Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Salawat. صل على محمد وآله. To this day comes Zainab's cry, oh my brother Hussein. To this day comes Zainab's cry, oh my brother Hussein. Your face, your eyes, how can I forget Hussein? To this day comes Zainab's cry, oh my brother Hussein. From the horse how you fell to the burning sand. From the horse how you fell to the burning sand. On my knees I came crawling to your body, Hussein. I only worried when the dagger I saw scraping on your neck. I only worried when the dagger I saw scraping on your neck. After that, in no struggle did I worry, Hussein. Tears were streaming from my eyes when I sent you away. After that, no tear fell, the tears ran out, oh Hussein. To this day comes Zainab's cry, oh my brother Hussein. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jazakallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Right. Stand up. Stand up.
Someone put it in you, I guess. Okay.
For Muhammad, for all of Muhammad, salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Allahumma salli ala
Hi.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Both mics. Both mics.
You need both. The little guy to speak more. The big one is for the speaker.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Oh my Esther, you went to the battlefield, you never came back. You asked for some water, they gave you an arrow, you never came back. Who shall I feed now? Who shall I clothe now? Who shall I rock now? Oh my Esther, you went to the battlefield, you never came back. You asked for some water, they gave you an arrow, you never came back. Your cradle's empty, my heart is broken, where can I find you?
Oh my Oscar, you went to the
Battlefield, you never came back. You asked for some water, they gave you an arrow, you never came back. It's dark in the gray sun, the sand is burning. How will you sleep, my son? Oh my Esther, you went to the battlefield, you never came back. You asked for some water, they gave you an arrow. You never came back. They brought some water, Sakina will not drink, she's bringing it for you. Oh my Esther, you went to the battlefield, you never came back. You asked for some water, they gave you an arrow, you never came back. I'm going home, son, what I say when Surah asks, where's Asr? Oh my Asr, you went to the battlefield, you never came back. You asked for some water, they gave you an arrow, you never came back.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Muhammad. Good job. Good job. Do you have another one? Okay, it's your turn. Another one. Green. So go down to the play something. Asia. Walaikum assalam. Maybe change something. Subjective. I was kind of closing it. I was thinking this time. The what's your video? You want to put that on the screen? Yeah, I know.
पर मोहम्मद व आल मोहम्मद सलवात। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद। नारे हैदरी, नारे हैदरी, फातिहा।
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد. For these 7 or 8 days we've been together, we've been talking about the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Our starting point was the statement of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, where he states his mission to his brother Muhammad bin Hanafiya, saying that he is setting out to revive, to reform the Ummah, and to revive the seerah of his grandfather Rasulullah. And so we are trying to reconnect to that seerah first by understanding why it's so important, and then also by examining some of the stumbling blocks, some of the challenges that are there as we want to read about the seerah, as we want to reconnect with the seerah of Rasulullah. Then we see that it's not so simple. We're not, of course, contemporaries of Rasulullah that we can be have our own direct connection to him. Necessarily, we have to have intermediaries, and so we're in a way at the mercy of those intermediaries. If they are immoral, if they are imperfect, if they are biased, whatever their problems are, affects the kind of information that reaches us, and the spin, the twist, the bias of that information as it reaches us. And if we're not careful, then we can end up having a skewed idea of who Rasulullah was and what his mission was, and then we'll be disconnected. So we've looked at various challenges through snippets of stories, looking at some personalities and some instances from the Prophet's life, and we've seen some of those challenges. Tonight, I'd like to focus on hopefully maybe two, but at least one personality who's important in Rasulullah's story, and I'll see if we have enough time, we can go to the second one as well. They're in some way intertwined. The first story I want to share with you, again, partly is so that we can understand this person and his story and his virtues, and then learn from him as a role model. But also there is an element of bias in the storytelling about this person, and so that's also something we need to focus on, again, to see another angle of those problems with the recording and the writing of Sirah. The personality I want to tell you about is someone familiar to you, at least in name, and maybe some idea, some snippets of his life as well. It's Abu Dhar. And so Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, his name actually is Jundab ibn Junada, but nobody knows him like that. Even in his time, everyone referred to him as Abu Dhar. So Abu Dhar is famous across the board between Sunni and Shi'i historians as being one of the earliest converts, one of the earliest people to accept the message of Rasulullah. So in different sources, they say he's either the third or the fourth or the fifth person to convert and become Muslim. That's how early. Now, one footnote on this number, you might be, kind of raise the question, when Rasulullah declares his mission, who are the first people to accept? Amir al-Mu'mineen, Khadija, Zayd ibn Haritha, Abu Talib, Fatima bint Asad, Ja'far al-Tayyar. And these people who are part of the household of Rasulullah, of course, they all accepted right away. And even sometimes the word convert doesn't do justice. We don't say Amir al-Mu'mineen converted to Islam. Right? Abu Talib converted to Islam. Conversion, that word, is a little bit tricky and inaccurate in this case, because conversion implies that they were following some other deen, and then when Rasulullah comes and says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, then they convert and change to something different. And that doesn't describe their reality, because these are people who are always knew. I've shared the stories with you over the past couple of nights. They always knew who Rasulullah is. They've been hearing the stories from generations. Hashim and Abdul Muttalib, if not before that, they've been talking about the prophecies, and they're waiting and they're seeing visions, and they're telling each other and training each other that our job is just to nurture this last prophet of Allah. So they're not converting. Yes, they say the Shahada, but that's just the declaration on their tongue of what they've always been committed to, which is Allah and his message and his mission. So one thing to pay attention to in Sirah literature, when they say that so-and-so was the fifth to convert, so-and-so was the eighth to convert, and they put these numbers. So one problem with those numbers is that we don't know for a fact, whether we can really put them in sequence. Exactly, does everyone remember exactly which number this person was? There was no record at the time, and after the fact, it was a sign of prestige. It was a way of asserting prestige that I was the first one, I was the sixth one, I was early on I converted. And so either the person himself might promote himself and remember it in a certain way, or his family and his descendants would say that, oh, our forefather, he was the first, he was the second, he was the third. So we have to take that into account when we look at the numbers. And the other problem is, how do we fit Abu Dhar being the third to convert with all these other names that I just mentioned from the family of the Prophet? So one thing that we see throughout the Sirah literature and the way it's written, recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali. Please, sisters, if you wouldn't mind. One of the realities that we see in the dynamic is that the Ahlul Bayt, in the broader sense, not necessarily the Ashab al-Kisa, the family of the Prophet is seen as a category unto itself. They're never included with Muhajirin and Ansar. Right? We don't consider that the Imam Ali is Muhajir or Ansar, or that Rasulullah is Muhajir. Yes, of course he's Muhajir. He did Hijrah, but he's not in the category of the Muhajirin. He's in his own category. Rasulullah, Ali, Ahlul Bayt, they're in their own category by themselves. And whenever we talk about the first of the Ummah to do something, it's the first other than Ahlul Bayt. It's the first outside of the household of the Prophet. All right, so that's also something to keep in mind when you talk about Abu Dhar being the fifth. It's the fifth outside of the close circle of the Prophet's family. From what I see, it's very clear that, right, I mentioned all these names, but even all the other members of the Banu Hashim, they converted very, very, very early. Again, because of the same reason. They've been trained and they've been expecting this. Sorry, recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So I can be very focused, but I also get distracted very easily, and it's hard for me to focus if there are conversations happening. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All right, so Abu Dhar, his conversion story, there are two versions of the conversion story, and I'll mention a one that I think is the more credible one, the more authentic one, and then I'll share the other one as well. So Abu Dhar's conversion story, which we get from our own Shi'i sources, tells us that he was actually a very righteous and godly person even before he met Rasulullah. He was someone he's from a tribe of Ghifar. Ghifari means he's from the tribe of Ghifar. It's a nomadic tribe, lived up in the north towards the Tabuk area. And these people, they actually lived along the trade route between Hijaz and Sham and Syria. And so the caravans would have to pass by them. The Ghifar were notorious for being bandits. That tribe was known for being bandits. They would steal, they would raid, loot the caravans. One thing that prevented them, they had a special place for the Quraysh's caravans because the progenitor of the Prophet Hashim, he had actually had this foresight. Nowadays you have people who are kind of business entrepreneurs, and they have this foresight to think of infrastructure and think really ahead of their time and set up things so that for generations after there are great systems in place. So he was like that. He saw that our income, our livelihood, and the well-being of Mecca depends on these trade routes. And so we need to set up infrastructure. Otherwise, our caravans are susceptible. As we go north, we're going through all these different territories with nomadic tribes, and they might raid and loot the caravans. That's not in our best interest. So he got his brothers together, the three brothers, and himself, so that they went to the four directions, and they went to the kings of all the empires, and they got treaties made treaties with them and got their protection so that they and their allies would protect the caravans of Quraysh as they went north and south. So only because of Hashim's foresight in this treaty that he had made with the Ghifar, they spared the Quraysh's caravans as they would go north and south, as well, just like all the other tribes along the way were allied with them and would also protect their caravans. But in any case, the Ghifar were notorious for this. This was their livelihood. They would steal. But Abu Dhar never did this. He left this part of his tribe. He abandoned this. He said, I'll never make my income by stealing. And so he lived alone, and he would, maybe he had some animals and he would just herd the animals, and that's how he made his living. But he didn't want to have anything to do with this kind of livelihood. That's one virtue of Abu Dhar, even before Islam. And he is known for never worshipping idols, for worshipping one God. In fact, one time, Abu Dhar comes to, there's a story that's narrated in Al-Kafi where Gabriel is speaking with Rasulullah, and when Gabriel would come in human form, he used to come in the form of this one man named Dahya al-Kalbi. So Dahya al-Kalbi was one of the companions of Rasulullah, and he was very beautiful, apparently, according to the traditions. And so whenever Gabriel would manifest himself and come in human form, he would come in the form of Dahya. I don't understand this part of the story because it's told throughout. Sunnis and Shia scholars, they narrate this. It seems like it would be a recipe for confusion, because when Dahya is there in front of Rasulullah, you don't know, is it the real Dahya or is it Gabriel? I'm not sure how that got resolved. But in any case, in this one story, the same thing shows up, and Abu Dhar passes by seeing Dahya speaking to Rasulullah, and he kind of quickly avoids and leaves. And Dahya was actually Gabriel. So Gabriel tells Rasulullah, why did Abu Dhar kind of ignore us and not say salam to us? If he had said salam to us, I would have responded to his salam. So when that happens, then after Gabriel leaves, Abu Dhar comes back, and Rasulullah says, why didn't you say salam to us earlier when you saw us and you quickly moved away? He said, I thought you had some private business with Dahya and I didn't want to interfere, so I thought I'll give you your space and I'll come back later. So he did it out of politeness. Rasulullah says, actually, that was Gabriel. And Abu Dhar, he feels so bad. He feels like he missed such an opportunity. In that sitting between Gabriel and Rasulullah, after Gabriel says, I wish Abu Dhar had said salam, I would have said salam back to him. Gabriel tells Rasulullah that Abu Dhar is more well known amongst the angels of the sky than he is amongst the people of the earth. Gabriel tells Rasulullah this. And Rasulullah says, how do you know Abu Dhar? He says, all of the angels know him, because he, even before he became Muslim, he had a dua that he would repeat over and over again, and he's famous by this dua amongst the angels. This is a hadith in Al-Kafi. So the dua is the following: Allahumma inni as'aluka al-amna wal-imana bika wal-tasdiqa bi-nabiyyik wal-afiyata min jami' al-bala wal-shukra ala al-afiyah wal-ghina an shirar al-nas. So he asked for these 6 or 7 things. He said, oh Allah, give me sanctuary from your punishment. Give me the tawfiq to believe in you. Give me the tawfiq to confirm whoever your prophet is. This is before he's ever met the prophet, but he knows about prophets. He's heard this enough, and he's looking for him. He's searching for him. He's praying to Allah, help me to know who your prophet is, and let me be the one to confirm him, to believe in him and affirm his prophecy. وَالْعَافِيَةَ مِنْ جَمِيعِ الْبَلَاءِ. He asked Allah to free him from give him well-being and safety from any hardships and any tribulations, and to give him the tawfiq to be thankful for all the blessings that Allah gives, and to be without any need, never to be dependent on those who are evil. Like basic akhlaqi du'as, but all righteous, all good du'as that we should be repeating all the time. So Abu Dhar had himself created this dua for himself. This was his kind of mission statement, his motto for his life. And he would make this dua, and Gabriel is the one who tells Rasulullah, go ask him about it. And Abu Dhar is the one who tells Rasulullah what Gabriel had just hinted at to Rasulullah. That's the kind of person that Abu Dhar is, even before he is exposed to Islam. So with this kind of background, yeah, please, you can move forward. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is one of the first lessons that we learn from people like Abu Dhar. We sometimes take for granted we might have been born Muslim, might have been born Shi'i. We should never take it for granted. That's a huge blessing that Allah has given us if He let us be born in a family that's already Muslim, who already knows Ahlul Bayt and believes in them. Not everyone has that blessing, and many people who convert, they have to work very hard to even find the truth. But one of the qualities that we should all strive, whether we're born Muslim, not born Muslim, all people, even non-Muslims, should strive for, is piety, is to be humble, to seek the truth, to seek God, to figure out what does God want from me? How can I serve God? How can I get closer to God? That's a universal quality everyone should foster within themselves. And that's actually one of the best things we can do if we're trying to help others to find Islam. Instead of teaching them about Islam or exposing them to kind of deeper and more complicated teachings of Islam at first, just encourage them to be humble and to seek the truth. Everyone knows God by their fitrah. Everyone already believes in God by their fitrah. Sometimes it's been clouded and it's been hidden because of their bad environment and because of the skepticism and the atheism that they have around them. But in their heart, everyone knows that God is their creator. So all we need to do is to help people to reconnect to that. Believe in God. Pray to God for your own guidance. Tell them that. Just seek God's guidance for yourself. Once they reach out to Allah, of course He's going to open doors for them. He's going to guide them. He's going to change their own attitudes. He's going to give them opportunities, expose them to people and ideas. That's His job. He'll guide. But we can be part of that by catalyzing their own self-reflection, their connection to their own fitrah. Once they do that, then it's a matter of it's easy. Once they become humble, once you become truth-seeking, then everything else becomes much easier. So Abu Dhar had this already. Because of this, so the tradition we have in Al-Kafi about Abu Dhar's conversion, it says that he and his wife were outside of Mecca herding their animals, their flock of animals. And while he is doing this, he has his sheep in front of him, and Allah sends a wolf to come and start attacking the animals. And Abu Dhar, as the shepherd, he goes and he starts to fend off and tries to scare away the wolf. And he says to the wolf, "You're such a vicious wolf. I've never seen anyone so vicious as you." And Allah creates this. The wolf is a messenger from Allah. He allows the wolf to speak to Abu Dhar according to this hadith. And he tells him that if you think I am vicious, the people of Mecca are being more vicious with a prophet who has been sent to them. So you might think, well, that's supernatural and this sounds very, very fishy. It's a hadith in Al-Kafi and from a reliable source. And think of who Abu Dhar is. If Abu Dhar is able to be so righteous and so connected to Allah and so humble, even before he meets Rasulullah, he is one of those special people that, of course, Allah is going to open doors. And this is his way of guiding him into Mecca, motivating him to go to Mecca to meet Rasulullah and to find out who he is by creating this little scenario with this wolf. And so Abu Dhar, he takes the message from this situation that Allah has put him in. He quickly goes back to his wife. He asks her, pack some provision for me. I'm going to go into Mecca and see what's happening, because I received a message that there's something very important happening in Mecca. And so he goes to Mecca and he goes into Masjid al-Haram, and he just has his eyes open. He doesn't open his mouth. He doesn't talk. He doesn't ask it around. He just wants to kind of see what's going on. If there's something happening, he thinks that he'll probably see the signs of it. So he goes and he sits in a place and he overhears people talking, and he finds that everyone's making fun and ridiculing the Prophet. And so it connects with him that, oh yeah, what the wolf was telling me about these vicious wolves all surrounding and attacking and biting and nipping at the Prophet, I see that right here. Then he sees that suddenly everything changes. Everyone sits up straight. They all get kind of nervous. And they stop saying what they were saying, and he sees that this person enters into the masjid, and everyone kind of kowtows to him, bows, and is very obsequious and servile towards him, and they address him as Abu Talib. So again, that personality of Abu Talib comes out. Once he enters, then everyone has to be quiet. They don't dare say anything about Rasulullah in Abu Talib's presence. So Abu Dhar is observing all of this. He says, this is the person I want to talk to. Because obviously he's the one who has some connection to that new prophet, and these people are all his enemies. So I need to go talk to this person. So he goes and he follows Abu Talib. And after a while, Abu Talib, always aware, he realizes he's being followed. He turns to Abu Dhar and says, what do you want? So he asks him, he says, are you connected to this new prophet that God has sent? Abu Talib says, what's your business with him? And so he explains, he says, I've come to find out who he is, and I'm willing to submit. I believe in God, and I want to believe in this new prophet. I want to know who he is. So Abu Talib says, fine, come with me. He takes him to his home, and he keeps him there for the entire day. So the hadith tells us that he spent kind of one whole day, he just wanted to vet Abu Dhar before he even introduced him to Rasulullah. So the whole day he spends in Abu Talib's house, and he asks him some questions. He asks him, if I introduce you to Rasulullah, if you see that what he's saying is the truth, will you accept it? He says, yes, I will accept it. I will obey whatever he says. He's already Muslim before he even knows who Rasulullah is. After one day, Abu Talib takes him to the house of Hamza. And now one whole day, Hamza is in charge of vetting Abu Dhar and checking him out, seeing how he is. So he also asks him the same question. When you meet the Prophet, are you going to accept what he says? He says, yes, that's what I'm here for. The third day, he goes to Imam Ali's house and he vets him. The fourth day, he goes to Ja'far al-Tayyar's house and he vets him. So like this, for 4 days, they go through this process of checking him out, seeing how sincere he is, what's his personality like. Then when they feel safe, then finally Imam Ali alayhi salam comes and he takes Abu Dhar and says, I'm going to introduce you to Rasulullah. He coaches him and tells him that when you meet him, the way that you should greet him is to say Assalamu alaikum. Because in that time, they had different greetings. The Arabs would say, for instance, Abayt al-La'n. That was one of their greetings. You're above damnation. It was a very kind of strange, this sounds very strange to us. Or, Sabah al-Khair, or, these other kinds of greetings. And Islam comes and introduces Assalamu alaikum, and this becomes what's known as Tahiyyatul Islam, the greeting of Islam. So when Abu Dhar enters into the presence of Rasulullah, he says Assalamu alaikum, and of course Rasulullah says Alaikum assalam. And we're told again in the Seerah, both in Sunni and Shia sources, Abu Dhar is famous for being the first one to ever use Tahiyyatul Islam, to ever say Assalamu alaikum. Now again, that will raise a question. What about was Ali and Khadija and Ja'far and were they not saying salam to the Prophet? They're in their own category. When you say the first to do something, it means the first to do something outside of the inner circle of Rasulullah. Right? But that's a famous and that's a very kind of big honor for Abu Dhar, that he is seen as the pioneer of Tahiyyatul Islam, saying Assalamu alaikum, that he was the first one to ever do it. Of course, Imam Ali is the one who taught him. He didn't invent it himself, right? But he's been credited with this. Like who Dua Kumail is from Imam Ali alayhi salam, but we put Kumail's name on it because he's the one who received it. Dua Abi Hamza Thamali, it's Imam Zayn al-Abidin who narrated the dua, but Abu Hamza is the one who received it. So like that, Abu Dhar has gotten the credit for the Tahiyyatul Islam. It's an honor for him, when of course the origin is the teachings of Rasulullah himself. So this is the first meeting. Rasulullah teaches him the basics and he converts. He says the Shahada. Again, I use the word convert, but he says the Shahada, accepts the teachings of Rasulullah. Then Abu Dhar asks, what's my duty? What do you want me to do? So Rasulullah says that you should go back to your tribe. He says that you have a relative who has died and he has left some inheritance and there are no other heirs except for you. So go back, claim your inheritance and live amongst your people, teach them whatever I've taught you in this one sitting. teach them whatever I've taught you, but stay with your tribe. And once we have become established and we're stronger, then I'll call you and then you'll join with us. So from that point on, in Mecca, Abu Dhar's gone. He's the first to convert, and immediately he meets the Prophet for maybe a few minutes, an hour, and then he goes. And then he doesn't come back until after the Hijrah. Some 6 or 7 or 8 months after the Hijrah is when he finally comes back and does his Hijrah as well, enters into Medina, and from then on he's one of those closest and most outstanding companions of Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen. So this is the story of Abu Dhar's conversion, you can say, according to our Shi'i sources. There is another version that is quoted in Sunni sources, especially in this At-Tabaqat al-Kubra of Ibn Sa'd. This is a well-known work on history of the Prophet and his companions, and kind of a biographical work of all the different individuals. So in this work, the story that's narrated is quite different. It tells us that Abu Dhar was still in his own tribe, in amongst the Ghifar, and his brother Unais is the one who hears rumors about this new prophet who's risen up in Mecca. And so when he tells him this, Abu Dhar sends Unais to Mecca to go and find out what are the details of this prophet, who is he, what is he teaching. And then Unais comes back, reports to Abu Dhar, and Abu Dhar is satisfied that this is something that's worth checking out, and then he himself comes to Mecca, and then he meets Rasulullah. In this second story, we're told that he comes into the Haram, and this time it's Imam Ali that he meets. And he has some exchange with him, explains why he's come, and Ali after feeling confident that he's sincere, he says, "Follow me." But they come up with a very secretive way of doing it. He says, "I'm going to walk. You should follow me at some distance, and then if I see any danger, then I'll bend over." He says, "I'll pour some water," something like that. So I'll do some gesture, then you should stop, and you go away, and then we'll meet up somewhere else. If I continue to walk, then you keep following me, and then I'll make a motion where you're supposed to enter, and then you enter into that door. So a very secretive type of a plan that they come up with, so that he can guide Abu Dhar to go meet Rasulullah. So that takes place. Abu Dhar meets the Prophet, says his Shahada, and then the story continues and says that Abu Dhar came into Masjid al-Haram, and at the top of his voice he says, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah." And this is blasphemous. This is rocking the boat. He's just asking for trouble. All the mushrikeen, they pile on him. They start beating him and kicking him to an inch of his life. The only thing that saves him is that Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet, he comes and he stops the people from hitting him any further, and he tells them that he is from Ghifar. If you hurt him, then your caravans to the north are not going to be safe. So then they leave him alone. And he goes back to Imam Ali, and he recuperates for the day. The second day he comes back and does the same thing. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. At the top of his voice, again they beat him. Again the same thing repeats. Then the story continues and says that when he comes to Rasulullah, he vows that he's going to take revenge on the Quraysh for beating him like this. He's going to go back to Ghifar, and he's going to tell his people that they should plunder and pillage the caravans of Quraysh because of what they've done to him. And until they all convert, he's not going to release their possessions from the caravan. All right, it's a very different story. It gives you a very different image of Abu Dhar. This second story, some of the problems that you see in it that don't fit with that kind of personality that Abu Dhar has. One is there's an inconsistency. If you look at the storyline, that Abu Dhar is coming very tactfully, very carefully, very secretively, just observing, seeing. He recognizes this is going to be a tricky thing to find out. He can't just go and ask people. Imam Ali is also so careful, secretive. They come up with this whole thing of gestures and signs so they can get to Rasulullah without causing any trouble. So it's clear to them, at the beginning of the story, it's clear to them that secrecy is of the utmost importance. That publicly saying anything is going to cause trouble. Then what happens all of a sudden when Abu Dhar becomes Muslim, now he loses all his tact. Now he comes out and he's clumsy and he's just in your face and he yells and brings this punishment on himself. Rasulullah had been so tactful. He had encouraged his people to be very tactful, to be very careful, not to raise the anger of their people. Don't be disrespectful to your parents. Don't go out and condemn their gods and do these different things. Don't make them angry at this point. At the beginning of the mission, it was very important to be kind of low key and a little bit secretive. They would find secret places. If they couldn't pray at home, they would go to the outside of the city of Mecca, into the valleys, into the gorges. They would meet there and pray over there because they didn't want to cause trouble by praying amongst their family members. But the second story shows that in the beginning, Abu Dhar somehow understood the importance of secrecy, but by the end, he lost all control and he had to just get it off his chest. So it shows him to be a loose cannon, an unreliable person, willing to, with no tact, no ability to control himself. The second thing is that this threat, this promise that I'm going to take revenge on the Quraysh by telling my people to steal and pillage their caravans. Before Islam, he never did this. Before Islam, he separated himself from his own tribe because they were intent on pillaging, and he knew this was wrong and he didn't want to partake. But now after he becomes Muslim, now he goes back and becomes a member of their tribe and starts to pillage and loot. So one of the things that you see in the history after Rasulullah, which introduces a very clear bias against Abu Dhar. Abu Dhar was somebody, in Rasulullah's own words, he says, ما أقلت الغبراء ولا أظلت الخضراء ذا لهجة أصدق من أبي ذر. Very poetically, the Prophet declares this about Abu Dhar. He says that the dusty earth has never borne anyone, nor has the blue sky shaded anyone more truthful than Abu Dhar. This is Rasulullah's declaration, praise of Abu Dhar, again narrated across the board in Sunni and Shi'i sources. He's trying to show us how truthful, how honest, how pure Abu Dhar is, that there's no one who walks on the face of the earth, no one who's walked under the blue sky who is more truthful than Abu Dhar, Rasulullah says. And he was famous for this. He was, in some circles, infamous for this. Because after Rasulullah, especially in the time of Uthman ibn Affan's Khilafah, right, one of the problems with Uthman ibn Affan was that he was extremely corrupt. He was infamous for nepotism, appointing his own family members to positions, even if those family members were disgraced, even if they had been condemned by Rasulullah himself and banished by Rasulullah himself, Uthman would appoint those people into high positions. The most infamous of them probably is this Walid ibn Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt that I mentioned a few days ago. This drunkard, he had been punished by Rasulullah for drinking publicly. He was banished from Medina. He's the person that in Surah Al-Hujurat, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. This fasiq, if a corrupt and kind of evil person comes and tells you some information, then don't just trust him. You have to investigate to see if what he's saying is true. This is a Quranic declaration. If a fasiq person comes with some news, then before you act on it, before you accept it, vet the information, examine, make sure it's true before you act on it. Otherwise, you're going to regret it. Who is that fasiq? Everyone agrees the fasiq is referring to Walid ibn Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt. Someone who's declared fasiq by Allah in the Quran, and everyone agrees that this verse is about Walid ibn Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt. Uthman ibn Affan, he appoints him because he's a cousin, and I think he probably shared milk with him. So he appoints him as governor of Kufa. So this kind of behavior by Uthman led to his own assassination. So by the end of his Khilafah, by the time he was killed by mobs that had come from Egypt and from all over the place into Medina to lodge their complaints and to protest against Uthman ibn Affan. He was detested by the Ummah. So much so that when you go to Baqi', where's Uthman's grave? Way over in the far, far corner. If you start from where the Imams are buried at the entrance of Baqi', and all the close family members, companions, the wives of the Prophet are buried towards the front near the gates where you first enter Baqi', right? Uthman ibn Affan's grave is way out in the corner. Actually, it was outside of Baqi' before. Now the Baqi's the walls have been expanded, so it's included inside. But when he was killed, the people refused to let him be buried in Baqi'. He was so hated by people, they buried him outside of Baqi'. Now they've extended the wall, so that part of history is blurred, and people don't know that he was so detested, or don't remember he was so detested that he was even outcast from his. After death, he was outcast. The Uthman that most people think is Uthman ibn Affan is actually Uthman ibn Mad'un. He's very closer. He's very quite close to where all the other early companions. Uthman ibn Mad'un is actually the first muhajir to die in Medina and be buried in Baqi'. So the first individual to be buried there was As'ad ibn Zurara. He was a Ansari. And the second person to be buried in Baqi', who was a muhajir, was Uthman ibn Mad'un. So now if you go in Baqi', last time I went, there are signs saying to the grave of Uthman, it leads you to the grave of Uthman ibn Mad'un because it's very close. People go there and do their own ziyarah, whatever they do for Uthman ibn Affan, thinking it's him, not realizing his grave is way out in the corner outside of Baqi'. So this is the kind of person Uthman was, what kind of corruption he perpetrated, how much he was detested by the companions, the Sahaba of his own time because of this corruption. The person who was the biggest thorn in the side of Uthman's, Khilafah is Abu Dhar. Abu Dhar, this pure, truthful person, more truthful than whom nobody had walked the face of the earth, according to Rasulullah, he would expose all of Uthman's corruption. Every policy he would institute that was against the Sunnah, Abu Dhar would raise his voice and say, you can't do this, it's against the Quran, it's against this verse, against the Sunnah. And Uthman became so fed up with it that he banished Abu Dhar to Syria. And then Abu Dhar started doing the same thing with Muawiyah. With all of Muawiyah's corruption, every time he would do things that were against the Sunnah and the Quran, Abu Dhar would raise his voice against him. So then Muawiyah gets fed up with him, sends him back to Medina. And then finally, Uthman, the last time he banishes him to a place called Rabada, to the east, towards Riyadh and towards Najd. And he banishes him there. He forbids anyone to have any contact. No one is allowed to accompany Abu Dhar to bid farewell to him, to do anything. He has to just leave in disgrace from Medina. The only ones to defy it are Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, Imam Hussein. These individuals who were close to Imam Ali, they defy the ban on accompanying Abu Dhar as he's being escorted out, and they bid him farewell with honor. But this is Abu Dhar's fate. He's banished to Rabada, and he dies there. His grave is there. All of that because of his truthfulness and his willingness to fearlessly speak the truth against these powerful people. So Abu Dhar obviously is an enemy of the Umayyad state. And the Umayyads are the ones who have control for this first 100 years after the Prophet's death until the years 132 when the Abbasids took over. So more than 100 years, almost 112, 13 years. And so they have control over the writing of the history. Even the first movements, as I mentioned, in the year 100 and so, when Umar ibn Abdul Aziz wants to have a seerah of the Prophet written. So it's the Umayyads who are writing the first seerah of the Prophet. So of course that the ones who write that seerah are not going to look favorably upon Abu Dhar. And so they vilify him and make him seem like a loose cannon, make him seem like someone who can't even control his tongue. He's just left Rasulullah. He knows he's not supposed to say anything, and here he can't help himself. He has to just yell out the shahada in public and get beaten for it. So that prepares the grounds for people to say that, oh yes, he's a loose cannon. He just says whatever's on his mind. He has no tact. And if we beat him, Uthman he beat him once. If we beat him, it's the same thing that the Quraysh were doing from before. Who can blame us? When someone like Abu Dhar, with this origin story, who can blame me for also doing the same thing? So it's a way to then justify their own stance against Abu Dhar, their banishment of Abu Dhar, and to make him out to be evil, and to make themselves out to be justified. And then the next Khulafa, the next line of Khulafa, the Abbasids, one of their biases is they're always trying to promote Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, who's their progenitor. So that could be one of the reasons why Abbas works his way into the story as the hero of Abu Dhar. He's the one who steps in and protects him. He's not Muslim. And in very few of the stories, you have Abbas coming and acting in this way. But in this story of Abu Dhar, he's the protector of Abu Dhar. Usually it's Abu Talib, usually it's Hamza. They're the ones who come in and protect Rasulullah, who step in and are the strong men to protect the faith. But in this story, Abbas is made out to be the hero. So again, we see two versions of the story, one narrated through Ahlul Bayt and through our Shi'i sources, one narrated through these Sunni sources that are controlled by the Umayyads and the Abbasids. Very different in the outcome and how you understand this Abu Dhar to be. If you read the second one, then it's very easy to think that he's a little bit crazy. And this is typically what I've experienced in the Sunni community. This is the opinion they have of Abu Dhar. I've heard imams of Ahl Sunnah, if they ever do happen to quote something about him, they have to really apologize to the people first and say, I know this is a little bit, this is a strange person, a weird person, a person that, we've heard so many stories about, and then they'll tell us a story about Abu Dhar that somehow shows some virtue. But they have to first apologize and put so many caveats before they even bring his name up, because they feel in their community that he's kind of an embarrassment. When we know that after Saqifa, he's one of those very few who stuck with Amir al-Mu'mineen, who lived and literally died by his pledge at Ghadir. And the famous hadith says, "Irtad an-nas illa thalathan aw arba'an." Everyone abandoned Amir al-Mu'mineen. The word is irtidad. Everyone apostatized, left the faith, meaning they left Amir al-Mu'mineen, except for 3 or 4. Abu Dhar was one of those 4 out of all the companions of Rasulullah. Again, not counting Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt, of course, were always by Rasulullah's side. Not counting them, outside of the family of the Prophet, 4 people stayed loyal to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Abu Dhar is one of them. Salman, Abu Dhar, Miqdad, and then the 4th one is either Ammar bin Yasir or Hudaybah ibn Yaman. All right, so this is another, I think, wonderful personality to know. Another one of our heroes that we should look to as one of the people we want to aspire to be like, to have that kind of purity. Another praise of Rasul, let me finish with this. He says that if you want to see the zuhd of Isa ibn Maryam, man arada an yanzura ila zuhdi Isa ibn Maryam falyanzur ila Abi Dhar. If you want to see a manifestation, a modern day manifestation of how ascetic, how distant from the worldly pleasures Isa ibn Maryam was, Prophet Jesus was, then the modern manifestation of that is Abu Dhar. Rasulullah is saying. So this interesting or maybe ironic, strange thing is that the exact same Sunni sources, the Tabaqat, that's quoting that story that makes Abu Dhar out to be such a loose cannon, is also quoting these ahadith that are saying there's no one more truthful than him. That if you want to see the zuhd of a prophet, then look to Abu Dhar. So even within that same source, you're seeing an internal contradiction. It's not that the Sunnis are saying one thing and the Shia sources are saying a different thing. Then you can say maybe there's some bias on this side or that side. But the same source that's narrating problematic stories about Abu Bakr is also praising him in the words of Rasulullah himself, in the words of Gabriel himself. How do that kind of praise of being so truthful, being so ascetic and zahid and disinterested in the dunya, and being so devoted to God even before you became obviously Muslim, that Gabriel himself not only recognized him but said you're famous amongst the angels, and then you say this person caused all this trouble and was a loose cannon and couldn't control his tongue. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa alihi. I'm going to share with you one of the stories from Karbala, a story that's familiar to all of you. This is the story of Imam Hussein's eldest son, Ali ibn al-Hussein al-Akbar. When all of Imam Hussein's companions had been killed, only 18 men from the Banu Hashim remained. All of these were from the progeny of Abu Talib and Fatima bint Asad. 6 were the sons of Ali ibn Abi Talib. 3 were the sons of Imam al-Hasan. 2 were the sons of Imam al-Hussein. 3 were the sons of Aqil ibn Abi Talib. 2 were the sons of Muslim ibn Aqil. And 2 were the sons of Abdullah bin Ja'far. The first to proceed to battle was Ali ibn al-Hussein al-Akbar, Imam Hussein's eldest son. He had been born in the year 33 after the Hijrah, making him 27 years old, according to some reports. His mother Layla was the daughter of Maymuna, who was the daughter of Abu Sufyan, thus making her Yazid's first cousin, and making Ali Akbar Yazid's nephew. He requested permission from his father, and it was granted. Imam Hussein sent him to the field, and he pointed toward the sky with both hands and said, "O Allah, you be my witness over them. A young man is going out to fight with them who is the most similar person to your messenger Muhammad in appearance, manner, and speech. Whenever we longed to see your messenger, we would look at him. O Allah, deny these people the blessings of the earth. And when you have denied them, divide them and ruin them and scatter them. And let those who rule over them never be pleased with them. For they called us and promised to help us. Then they turned on us and have fought us and murdered us." Then Hussein yelled at Umar bin Sa'ad and said, "What do you think you are doing? May Allah wipe out your lineage and deny you his blessings and all that you do. May he release upon you one who will slaughter you while you sleep, for you have wiped out my lineage and have ignored my kinship to the Messenger of God." As Ali al-Akbar advanced toward the enemy, he chanted the following Raja's poetry. "Ana Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali, nahnu wa bayt Allahi awla bin Nabi. أطعنكم بالرمح حتى ينثني أضربكم بالسيف أحمي عن أبي ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي والله لا يحكم فينا ابن الدعي." I am Ali, the son of Hussein, the son of Ali. I swear by the house of God that we are closer to the Prophet. I shall attack you with my lance until he falls to his knees. I shall strike you with my sword in defense of my father, with the blows of a son of Hashim, a son of Ali. I swear by God that this son of a bastard shall not rule over us. The first Kufan warrior he met was Bakr ibn Ghanim. At seeing this accursed man take to the field, Hussein's face paled, and Ali's mother Layla asked if something had happened to him. Hussein told her that he was about to fight with someone because of whom he feared for his son's life. He commanded her to pray for her son and quoted the Messenger of Allah who said, "A mother's prayer for her child is answered." Ali al-Akbar fought fiercely. He returned to his father, who told him, "Return to the battlefield. I hope that before evening your grandfather will quench your thirst with a chalice filled to the brim with a drink after which you shall never thirst again." As Ali al-Akbar re-entered the battlefield, a person from the Kufan army called out, "O Ali, we wish to take into consideration your kinship to the commander of the faithful Yazid. If you wish, we shall grant you amnesty." Ali al-Akbar retorted, "My kinship to the Messenger of God is more deserving to be taken into consideration." As Ali al-Akbar fought, Murrat ibn Munqidh al-Abdi said, "May all the sins of the Arabs be upon me if I don't bereave Hussein of his son." With this, he ran a spear into Ali ibn Hussein's back. Then he struck him on his skull, and the rest of the Kufans began striking at him with their swords. He fell forward and wrapped his arms around his horse, at which his horse mistakenly took him deeper into the ranks of the Kufans, where they cut him to pieces. At seeing this, Hussein called out, "May Allah curse these people who have killed you, my son. How insolent have they been with Allah, respecting the sanctity of the Messenger of Allah. I throw dirt on this world after your death. Ala la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين." Allah, we ask you to shower your mercy and blessings on Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. Help us, Allah, to commemorate Imam Hussein in a way that does justice to him and his cause. Keep us on the path of Hussein. Help us to follow and to learn and to submit ourselves to the seerah of the grandfather of Hussein, and raise us, inshallah, on the Day of Judgment in the ranks of Hussein and his companions. يا ليتنا كنا معهم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. صلوات على محمد وآله.
When I shout Ya Hussein, when I cry Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When I shout Ya Hussein, when I cry Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When I shout Ya Hussein, when I cry Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When we lift up your flag, we remember your name. When the world all is one calls to you, O Hussein, we will stand by your side. As we know you're our guide, we will stand by your side. As we know you're our guide, in our hearts you remain. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When I shout Ya Hussein, When I cry, Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When I shout, Ya Hussein, when I cry, Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. As we walk to your shrine, in our minds we reflect how you fought for Islam, we will never forget. But today you're alive, and your message will thrive. But today you're alive, and your message will thrive, running through our veins. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When I shout, Ya Hussein, when I cry, Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When I shout, Ya Hussein, when I cry, Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. They will never destroy, they will never erase all the love that we have for our Master Hussein. Every night, every day, every place, everywhere, every night, every day, every place, everywhere, we will let go the cry of Labbaik Ya Hussein. When I shout Ya Hussein, when I cry Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When I shout Ya Hussein, when I cry Ya Hussein, when I shed all my tears, Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein,
محمد أهل بيت محمد صلوات. زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، مثل برادرت حسن آرام گریه کن. زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. زینب زینب تو را به جان من، زینب تو را میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت، میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت، میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت. مانند شمع انجمن آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت، میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت، میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت. مانند شمع انجمن آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. زینب تو را به کمتر به این شمایل نیگی نیل کن، کمتر به این شمایل نیل نیگه کن، کمتر به این شمایل نیگی نیل کن. سیلی مزن به صورتت آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. زینب تو را کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، سیلی مزن به صورت آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. دستم رسیده است به زخمی های عمیق، دستم رسیده است به زخمی عمیق وای، زینب بیا بگو به من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت، میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت، مانند شمع انجمن آرام گریه کن، زینب جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، سیلی مزن به صورت آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. میدانم آب میشوی از داغ مادرت، 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 مانند شمع انجمن آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، کمتر به این شمایل نیلی نگاه کن، سیلی مزن به صورت آرام گریه کن، زینب به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، مثل برادرت حسن آرام گریه کن، مثل برادرت حسن آرام گریه کن، مثل برادرت حسن آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به آرام گریه کن، زینب تو را به جان من آرام گریه کن. یا حسین 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 یا حسین
ये माँ तुम्हारी मैया से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर कहती ये माँ तुम्हारी मैया से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अरमान ता पहनाऊंगी पोशाक जहानी अरमान ता पहनाऊंगी पोशाक जहानी अरमान ता पहनाऊंगी पोशाक जहानी अफसोस के रासाई न तुझको ये जवानी कैसा था मुकद्दर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर कहती ये माँ भरी मैया से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर इतना तो जरा ठहरो तुम्हें दूल्हा बना दूं इतना तो जरा ठहरो तुम्हें दूल्हा बना दूं इतना तो जरा ठहरो तुम्हें दूल्हा बना दूं बस एक झलक शेर की सुगरा को दिखा दूं बेचैन है ख्वाहिर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर कहती ये माँ भरी मैया से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर 18 बरस पाल के परवान चढ़ाया 18 बरस पाल के परवान चढ़ाया 18 बरस पाल के परवान चढ़ाया हो के सुवाला है मेरा में नहाया ये क्या हुआ दिल पर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर कहती ये माँ भरी मैया से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर माँ तेरी जुदाई में भला कैसे जिएगी माँ तेरी जुदाई में भला कैसे जिएगी माँ तेरी जुदाई में भला कैसे जिएगी मर जाएगी सगरा जो खबर तेरी सुनेगी अब क्या करूं दिल पर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर कहती ये माँ भरी मैया से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर पहले तो एक आवाज पे उठ जाते थे बेटा पहले कोई
का आवाज पे उठ जाते थे बेटा, पहले कोई का आवाज पे उठ जाते थे बेटा, अब इतनी सदाओं पे भी पहलू नहीं बदला, क्या हो गया दिल पर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, कहती थी माँ भाई मैया से बढ़कर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, तुम हेटियां ले एक जो दाम तोड़ रहे हो, तुम हेटियां ले लेके जो दाम तोड़ रहे हो, तुम हेटियां ले लेके जो दम तोड़ रहे हो, मुँह से हमेशा के लिए मोड़ रहे हो, क्या हो गया दिल पर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, पैसी दिए मांगू भाई मैया से बढ़कर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, ठहरो कि मैं हार भी मन्नत तो बढ़ा लूं, ठहरो कि मैं हार भी मन्नत तो बढ़ा लूं, ठहरो कि मैं हार भी मन्नत तो बढ़ा लूं, फिर लेके पलाए तुझे जीने की दुआ दूं, सदके हो ये मातर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, कहती थी माँ भाई मैया से बढ़कर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, बीमार था, चलने से जो लाचार था, चलने से जो लाचार था, और शाम का बाजार था, और शाम का बाजार था, और मुस्तफा की लड़कियां बोला इमाम का संजाओ से, बोला इमाम का संजाओ से, बोला इमाम का संजाओ से, जाओ से, जाओ से, तो कर गए नासिर की माँ, तो कर गए नासिर की माँ, मारा गया नासिर गया, मारा गया नासिर गया, मैदान में ढूंढू कहाँ, मैदान में ढूंढू कहाँ, मैं तेरी से तेरा मारा इमाम का संजाओ से, मारा इमाम का संजाओ से, मारा इमाम का संजाओ से, जाओ से, जाओ से, जाओ से, आबिदे बीमार था, वो आबिदे बीमार था, चलने से जो लाचार था, चलने से जो लाचार था, और शाम का बाजार था, और शाम का बाजार था, और मुस्तफा की लड़कियां बोला इमाम का संजाओ से, बोला इमाम का संजाओ से, बोला इमाम का संजाओ से, जाओ 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 से, चलने से जो लाचार था, चलने से जो लाचार था, और शाम का बाजार था, और शाम का बाजार था, और मुस्तफा की मारा या हुसैन, मारा या हुसैन, मारा या हुसैन, 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 अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला या make 4 to 5 lines of Namaz day. That is important.
Yeah. Okay.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar walillahil hamd. Allahu akbar, Allahu akbar, Allahu akbar, Allahu akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah. Ashhadu anna Aliyan حجة الله. حي على السلام، حي على السلام، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، حي على خير العمل، حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله، لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، حي على خير العمل، حي على خير العمل. أقامت الصلاة، أقامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الفلق، من شر ما خلق، ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب، ومن شر النفاثات في العقد، ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده، سبحان الله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أقول وأبدأ وأسمع. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الناس، ملك الناس، إله الناس، من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. بالسيما بالإحسان إحسانا وبالسيئات غفرانا. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب. الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقوم وأركع وأسجد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله الله الله.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Some salawat that we say after the prayer, we have to do it. It's a very weak and it's a important temple. It's the one we were good for. That she has to salawat. That's a lot of somewhere allowed to lead the way on the swallows. We're going to have 4 or 5 different times. Everyone all together. Say this a lot. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. حول الله وقوته أقوم وأقوم وأبكى وأسرع.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين منفكين حتى تأتيهم البينة رسول من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة فيها كتب قيمة وما تفرق الذين أوتوا الكتاب إلا من بعد ما جاءتهم البينة وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين القيمة إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم خالدين فيها أولئك هم شر البرية إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك هم خير البرية جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك لمن خشي ربه الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أحينا حياة محمد وذريته وأمتنا مماتهم وتوفنا على ملتهم واحشرنا في زمرتهم ولا تفرق بيننا وبينهم طرفة عين أبدا في الدنيا والآخرة الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله أكبر. الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته أطلب وأقول. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر. حول الله وقوته أقوم وأقوم. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله الله الله. إن الله وملائكته على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم إنه ليس لأمر بمولي رزقي وإنما يجوزه بخاط تحت العقل به فأجوز من الغولان فأنا بما نزل الحيوان لا أبي بسهل أم في حول أم في سماع أم في بر أم في بحر وعلى يدي من ومن كفل من وقد عرفت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بهذا وأنت الذي تكتب ورشده وحده. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى وجل يا رب الرزق الواسع والمستحق والحب كريما ولا تؤتني بالذي قالت بديل الرزق فإنما غير الحساب ولا حكم إلى رحمته فصل اللهم وعلى وجه إنك
stay with their parents. Okay? It is very necessary to do that to avoid disturbance in namaz and right now. So I would ask the parents, please, have your kids stay with you throughout the namaz, for Maghrib and Isha. And I think Maulana mentioned this a few days ago, right? The fact that when you pray at home, make sure your kids are with you so they know what prayer is all about. They can be playing around and all that stuff, but that's the way they learn how to pray. Accordingly, when they come to the center, they're beside you, they can pray along with you. So please be mindful of that so we can have a little more, they can pray with you and be alongside with you with that. Second announcement is a request by Maulana has got quite a few books with him on sale outside. The request is whoever has picked up a copy, please do Zelda funds. The phone number is on the sheet outside. So please Zelda funds. There's a price list. If you're unable to Zelda, let us know. We'll use other ways to pay for it. But please do your part to sell the money of the books that we're now. So recite 35 times, 3 times for a class for the sponsor of tonight's develop, along with all my all together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد Let's recite all together after you for those who are sick around us, especially remembering Sayyid's mom and all those who need our du'as across the world, in our community, whoever needs hajat, sick in the community, please, God, and Shifa, all together with your loudest voices. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amma yujibu mustarika 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 The logistics for Ashura Day, inshallah, the Tuesday, we'll start with the Amal of Ashura, led by Shaykh Rizwan Arastu, followed by the main program at 1:45 for the Zohar and Asr, followed by Ashura Majlis, and in the evening, inshallah, we'll start at 9 p.m. with the Muslim, Namaz, and Shabi Rabbi Agriba program. Please join us for the entire day to dedicate that to
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام على الأئمة الآبياء المهديين. السلام على جميع الأنبياء ورسله وملائكته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على
نعرہ حیدری
نعرہ
نعرہ حیدری
نعرہ
نعرہ صلوات
اللہ